Is Brendan Gallagher the hardest working winger in the league? And what is going on with the Canadiens' penalty kill? This is Hockey Inside Out. Welcome to this week's edition of Hockey Inside Out, which is brought to you by Madison's Restaurant and Bar in downtown Montreal on Drummond Street. That's the one across from the Bell Centre, your home away from home for Canadiens road games. Okay, today on this week's show, we have Mr. Stu Count from the Montreal Gazette, CBC Daybreaks, Jessica Rusnak, and Chris Nyland. 9 games into the season, and Jeff Petry has managed to maintain the momentum and leadership he showed early last year while Shea Weber sat out for 24 games, recovering from surgery. 34-year-old Weber, on the other hand, is showing cracks in the facade, looking less effective and slower than usual. Habs fans shouldn't worry, though. Weber has another 6 more years left on his contract to pick it up. Has Jeff Petry taken over from Shea Weber's role as the Canadiens' #1 defenseman?
He certainly has when you look at the ice time. I mean, he's leading the team every game almost in ice time now, which used to be Shea Weber's thing. That's a good thing for Shea Weber, too, because it takes a lot of the workload off of him. I think maybe one of the best things that happened to Petry was Weber's injury, because he was forced into that position. He had some growing pains at first as a #1 guy, but he's a really good defenseman. He's been really impressing me this year. Offensively, defensively, he's physical. He's a bigger guy than people might realize. He's a big, strong guy. He has that hip check where he catches guys with. So he is, in my opinion, the #1 defenseman right now.
And I think the way that he's been handling himself in the locker room as well after the games, taking on that sort of leadership role, you hear that being tossed around quite a bit with the Canadiens, but he just seems a little bit more confident in himself and his ability to, do what he needs to do as he has to step up. I'm sure he's noticed that Shea Weber is not playing up to his full potential, but he's the guy that he knows that they're relying on, and he's really seems to enjoy that sort of role that he's had for the moment.
Yeah, the play of Petry has been awesome. He did pick up where he left off last year. Obviously, he's a guy that can skate the puck. He can pass the puck. He's got a good shot. He's got good vision out in the ice. He's certainly, I would think right now he's in his prime of his career, and is he #1, #2, whatever he is, he's playing great. And, as far as Weber goes, early in the season here, he's had some struggles, but I think he's the type of guy that, the pride and work that he puts into his game, that things will get better for him as the season gets going.
Yeah, Weber's still so effective. I mean, guys are, he's an intimidating presence on the ice. I sort of chuckle sometimes when you see a guy, Weber will hit a guy, and the guy will turn around and sort of retaliate, either hack him and look and go, "Oh, Shea Weber," and they stop right away. It'd be interesting to see at some point if Julien tries Weber and Petry together. I know they're both right-hand shots, but Petry, I think, could be able to play the offside a little bit. At least they put them together once in a while. That might help out Weber also. And Weber needs somebody who can skate with him. That's why I think Mete is a good fit for him, with him for now, because they need somebody who can really fly on their skates to sort of help Weber out in situations like when they dump it in his corner and he might not be quick enough to turn and go get it. Mete or whoever can cut across. So I think I think Petry could do that also. But Claude Julien, I said before, neither of them are really comfortable on the offside, but the opposite side. But I figure, if Jordy Ben could do it, figure Jeff Petry could do it too.
Yeah, but could he really do it?
Do you think Weber has it in him to play out the remainder of his contract?
I mean, that's a lot. I mean, a lot of years. I don't know about that, but as far as the way he's playing, I think the struggles come with who he's paired with too. Since he got here, they were trying to get a guy to play alongside him, and they really haven't done that yet. And I know it's not easy, but I look at Victor Mete, and some nights, they get hemmed in. When it gets physical, it gets difficult for him. If he doesn't put the puck on the tape, he puts it around the wall, and then they get in trouble, and it allows a forecheck to get another stab at the Canadiens' defense. And I think the pairing's good for now. I certainly hope we don't see that pairing like all year. I don't know how effective it'll be.
I agree with it. I'm a big Victor Mete fan. I think he's a heck of a hockey player. I think he's a heck of a hockey player where he can skate.
I think it's too much for him.
But I agree with you. I think if Brisbane can get an upgrade to play beside Weber, it knocks him down, Mete down to play with Petry. That's a good second pairing. And then your third pairing, you got Kulak and other guys in the Sherratt. You can sort of rotate in and out. So I think that it's a case of, we've seen so many times this happen with the Canadiens where a guy, whether it was David Desharnais as a number one center when it wasn't really a number one center. I think Mete is the same. I really like Victor Mete. I like the way he plays, like the way he skates, but he's not a real number two defenseman in the NHL.
Jesperi Kotkaniemi put up 34 points last year as an 18-year-old rookie, which is super impressive. He has 3 points so far in 9 games. Do you think he's fallen victim to the dreaded sophomore jinx?
I don't think so. Not yet. It's too early. 9 games is too early. Good things can happen to players once they feel comfortable who they're playing with and they get going with this season. Again, 9 games for me is too early to get a read on this team overall. And every single player. Yeah, there's guys that come out of the gate fast every season. There's guys that really, show what they can do early. But I want to see the guys who are doing it over the course of the length of the season and certainly down the stretch. So, I just, it's a little early.
That's just it. And we always talk about how you have to be patient with the rookies. But yes, it's a sophomore season, but doesn't mean that all of a sudden he's this big veteran that has all kinds of experience. Exactly. He was the youngest guy in the NHL last year. 9 games in, he's finding his game, getting to know, his new line mates. And, it's too early to be concerned or to say that he's going to have this slump because he can break out and score all kinds of goals. A week from now, we can be talking about, why is Jesperi Kotkaniemi on such a hot streak? So you just have to give them time, let things unfold, and see where they're able to go.
Well, the kid proved last season that he has hockey sense, he has hockey IQ, he's good on both ends of the rink. He's growing into his body. He's 14 pounds heavy. He's 14 pounds heavier now.
He drops a lot
than he was last season, and he was that gangly sort of kid. And he's I can sort of relate because I was a gangly kid when I was young too. I was 6'3", like 170.
He's still gangly.
He's but he's growing into his body. And you're right, he does fall down a lot, he does get knocked down a lot. You would think that would improve now with the added strength he has, and I imagine it might as the season goes on. But it also, last season as a rookie, everything's new to him, right? Mm-hmm. Every day is like your birthday, you get up, I'm in the NHL, and now it's more of a job, maybe your second season.
Yeah,
too.
The innocence of
That's
of
right.
Everything
new. Everything was new last year, right? Every city was new, every team was new, and I think the newness is sort of worn off, and now it's more of a job, and I think that might have something to do with it also.
I cannot recall a time when Brendan Gallagher has taken a shift off, let alone a whole game off. Is Gallagher the hardest working winger in the NHL?
Yeah, there's a lot of guys that work hard in this league. There's no question. Every team has guys like that. Brendan Gallagher is, I think, standalone, though. His size, his ability to get to the net, his ability to work in the tough areas. He's strong on the wall. He's a leader. He's not a whiner. He plays hard every shit. I absolutely love Brendan Gallagher. Everything about this kid. He handles himself well in the press. He's not a punk. If not the hardest working winger, he's right up there with whoever the other ones are. But, there's a lot of guys that work their ass off in this league. And he certainly is a guy who leads the way.
There might be guys who work as hard as him, but I can't imagine anybody working harder than him. I mean, I wrote a column this week. You watch him when he gets to the bench after every shift, and he looks like he's going to die. He's got his head down, and he's breathing heavy, and then a minute and a half, 2 minutes later, he's back out and he does it again. And I was asking him about it, and he said, I'm built more like a sprinter. He said, my VO2 max isn't great. Like, I can't run long distances that, but I can go hard for 45 seconds or whatever the shift. And he says, my recovery is really good. He says, I said, what do you do? So I get to the bench, so I try and relax as much as I can and just take a couple of deep breaths to calm down. Then he talks with his line mates a bit, and then he's ready to go again. But it amazes me, like, game after game after game, like every shift. There's other guys who work hard, and you'll see them have one shift, or maybe they're tired. Like, every single shift, this guy gives everything he has. And he's not a big guy, and the beating he takes is, as Knuckles said, how do you not like Brendan Gallagher? I mean, and from a media standpoint, we love him too, because he's there, win, lose, he's always there. He's thoughtful with his answers. He's great. He's embraced everything about being a Montreal Canadien, and he also talked about how he learned so much from everybody else that he's played with. Starting with Josh Georges, who he lived with when he was a rookie, and he's taken a little bit from everybody, Giant, all these guys, and he's become one heck of a package.
Well, that's the number one thing with Brendan Gallagher is he hasn't changed since day one. Even, he doesn't have an ego. Talking to him today is the exact same as talking to him when he first broke into the league. But what I always remember when he first came in, everyone was questioning, can Brendan Gallagher be a long-term NHL player because of the way he plays?
He has to change.
He has to change his game because he's small and it's going to wear on his body and he'll be out of the league. But he said, no, this is the way I play, and I know myself, and I'm not going to change anything about it. And I think that's what's so great about Brendan Gallagher is he was able to shut down those critics against him. And I think he's someone who's had a lot of criticism because of his style and had to prove himself year after year. That it is just great that he's continuing to play his game and nothing has been affected.
Yeah, he certainly he hasn't changed, and it's a good thing. Brendan Gallagher having to change would be like a beaver all of a sudden eating meat. It's not going to happen. And, he certainly had proved the critics wrong. And everybody said he won't last. And, then he had the hand injuries. And everybody see, but come on, he was standing in front of the net. He gets hit with a shot. So he certainly, he's a guy I love watching every time he steps on the ice.
He only knows one way to play, and if you want to go on YouTube and search Brendan Gallagher and brick tournament, that brick tournament they have novice, he's like 8 years old, awesome. And you'll watch it for 5 seconds, you'll know who Brendan Gallagher is. He's crashing into the goalie, getting up, being a real nuisance, as I call him, like Dennis the Menace, and he's played that way since he was 8 years old.
Okay. The first half of the show has been brought to you by Madison's Restaurant and Bar in downtown Montreal on Drummond Street, the one right next to the Bell Centre. Book your holiday and corporate events there. The Canadiens finished last season with an above-average penalty kill. Now their penalty kill is brutal. Why has their PK been so bad?
They struggle, there's no question. We always hear the goaltender's your best penalty killer. In this case, I don't believe it's the goaltender. I think they're a team that is a little too passive in their own end of the rink. When they decide to press and start the press, they don't all react. When you start to press, you have to have the other 3 guys involved. And if they don't jump at the same time and be in good position, they're in trouble. They allowed too many passes through the box. If you're going to be passive, you can't allow the passes through the box that they're allowing through the box. And the penalty kill up in the offensive zone, in neutral zone, isn't too bad. They're pretty aggressive. They go after it. It's when they get in their end that the problems begin, and part of it is that being too passive.
I think another thing is they're missing Jordie Benn. Jordie Benn was, he averaged 2 minutes and 40 seconds, I think, per game, shorthanded. He was their main defenseman penalty killer. So I don't think that's the only reason, but I think they're maybe missing Jordie Benn a bit on the penalty kill. The good news is the power play is working. And Knuckles, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's a lot easier to fix a penalty kill than to fix a power play. A penalty kill is more just about hard work and cohesiveness and whatnot. It's not a skill thing, right? It's just you guys who are going to work hard and win puck battles and get the puck down the ice. So they should be able to fix it. Jordie Benn's the only guy from last year who's missing. It's a concern, but again, it would be a bigger concern if the power play wasn't working. The power play is working really well, but they do need to get the penalty killing going. You look in Minnesota, 2 power play goals against them, and that was a difference in the game.
Yeah.
And I think perhaps that there was so much of an emphasis on trying to get the power play to be working this season that maybe they sort of let the penalty kill slide because it was working well last year, and then a few games in, it wasn't going that well, and now we're seeing that it's becoming more and more of a problem. But it's just a matter of figuring out how to outwork your opponent and get the players to buy in and really just, work that much harder during that 2 minutes while you're on the penalty kill.
Well, Shea Weber was mentioned this week too. The 2 games before Minnesota, they were perfect on the penalty kill. They were 8 for 8. So it's just like they realized they know what they were doing right. They just need to fix it.
Do you think the Canadiens' defense is strong enough for the team to reach the playoffs this year?
I think, as we mentioned earlier, I think they need an upgrade in that top pairing with Weber. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. I mean, they've looked slow. You look at Ben Sherratt came in here. He was supposed to play with Jeff Petry. They were together all through training camp, all through the preseason games, and it didn't take long into the regular season before they dropped him to the 3rd pairing. So they look slow on defense a little bit with Sherratt, with Weber, with Christian Folin. Mike Riley can skate, but he obviously has the coaches have no confidence in him. He's been a healthy scratch for 5 straight games now. So I think they need an upgrade there. It's going to be tough.
I think they have too many of the same kind of defensemen right now, and it's the bottom pairing defensemen, and that's not what you need. So they're kind of in that position where they're trying to get players to play, you know, above what they should be expecting. We talked about Jordy Ben. Last year they were asking him to play, you know, he's supposed to be a 6th or maybe even a 7th defenseman. He was playing on, you know, the second pairing or even the top pairing. So they have to go and find actual defensemen who are part of the top 2 pairing rather than trying to get these bunch that all kind of are similar and fit them into a mold that they're not necessarily fit for.
Yeah, they have depth on D, but it's deep for some of those guys, those depth guys. The water's a little too deep for them. You know, I watched Christian Folin, and, you know, I know the kid works, but, you know, he's out of position a lot, and he scrambles a lot out in the ice. And, you know, when you get that opportunity to play, the pressure's on. You know, you want to stay in the lineup. And, you know, he certainly had a tough time staying in this year. But as far as the depth and are they good enough on defense, yeah, listen, this team can make the playoffs. I think overall, defensively, and it's not just the defensemen. This team has to be better. They have to be better in their own end of the rink. The goals will take care of themselves. If you play well in your own end, you're strong defensively, you're going to get a lot of opportunities offensively. There's no question about it. And this team, 5-on-5, has shown they can do it. So it's just they have to do it in their own end of the rink. And that's everybody. It's not just the defensemen. It's not just the center icemen. It's the wingers, too. And they have to get better in that area. They won't be making the playoffs because they'll be always constantly trying to catch up and falling behind if they don't tighten up defensively.
Well, Marc Bergevin knows they didn't upgrade. That's why he made the offer to Gardner, right, trying to get him, and he couldn't. And, you know, Bergevin likes to break the season into 10-game segments. After they've played 9 games and they're clinging to the second wild card spot, after the second 10-game segment, if they're out of a playoff spot or something, then I think we might see Bergevin do something. He's in a good position of strength now. He's got cap space. Yeah, he's got prospects. So if he wants to make a trade, he's got a lot of cards he can play to make that happen. And I don't think he can afford to miss the playoffs 3 years in a row. So I think at the 20-game mark or somewhere around there, I think we'll have an idea where this team is. I think Bergevin will also. And if they're not where they need to be to get in the playoffs, I think we'll see. I think he's going to have to make some kind of a move.
That will be interesting to see. All right, that is all the time that we have for this week's show. Hockey Inside Out was brought to you by Madison's Restaurant and Bar in downtown Montreal on Drummond Street, the one across from the Bell Centre, where you can wait out the traffic and enjoy their $10 specials after every game. Why do you think the Canadiens' penalty kill has been so bad? Any suggestions? I'm sure Claude Julien watches the show and reads the comments, and he'd appreciate your advice. My name is Adam Susser, and I'll see you back here next Thursday.